Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dr. Heather Denniston. This is the Junk You Should Know Show, and I have Dr. Heli McPhie with me today, which I can't even tell you how awesome this show is going to be, because Heli and I met up a while ago. She brought up a subject to me that I had not really put a lot of thought into, and now I think about it a lot, and she has such great information to share with you today. But first, I'm just going to do a quick thank you to the Change Cave that sponsors this show. It's a 12-module online learning institute for women over 40 who want to inspire first steps and ignite passion in their wellness aspirations. Link will be down below for any information you want, but just remember, it's $29.99 a month. It's a really awesome foundational education in wellness, and kind of that attitude of, aren't you tired of going this whole wellness thing alone? The Change Cave is a perfect sense of bulletproof resources, unwavering accountability, and incredible fierce community. And ironically, fierce community is what we're talking about today. And so, Heli, let me just give a little background. Dr. Heli and I actually went to high school together, and I was trying to think of stories, like a story I could share about Heli that might embarrass her, but I couldn't come up with any, because Heli is like the most steadfast, even personality, highly intelligent, so smart. I mean, I certainly was very jealous of her brain all through high school. It's so true. And so she went on to become a naturopathic doctor. She has some other things that she's going to be talking to you about today, too. We're going to be focusing on the concept of how important community is for wellness, the idea that loneliness isn't just loneliness, and Heli's going to get into that a little bit more. But welcome, welcome, welcome to the Junk You Should Know Show, Dr. Heli.
It is so great to be here, Dr. Heather.
Oh, well,
I love how synergies and circles that matter come back around.
Yes.
Right? I think it's an entirely different show, but I love those synergies and how they happen if you just look for them, because they're around.
I do too. Keeping our eyes open on those chance meetings, I think is really key. I love that. It's really awesome. So I am glad we reconnected and we got talking about this subject, and we couldn't keep going without sharing it with the Junk You Should Know Show viewers. So let's get into it. So one of my first questions, and I've got my little cheat sheet over here. We're talking about isolation's effect on health and wellness, and you said the funniest thing when we first started. You said you started talking to some people about this, and what was their reaction about you doing this interview?
You know, when I started talking about the fact that I'm talking about loneliness, people gave me the face. You know, the face that talking about that. It's like immediately, it's so stigmatized, that word, in our society, that it was immediately, I think I told you that it's like I got a loneliness pimple and nobody wanted to go there.
Yeah.
Right. And I had to actually say, I'm fine. I'm good. I've got a lovely family. I'm happily connected. I've got a beautiful friends. I'm good.
Yeah.
So people kind of relaxed and went, oh, okay, good.
Okay, we can talk about this. And the point is that there are so many people that aren't good in that regard, and that they're not doing well. So just tell me a little bit, why is there a stigma about this? Why don't people want to talk about the fact they're lonely?
Well, I think it goes back to some of our fears as we were growing up, right? Think about when you have felt lonely, it is usually after a very aversive thing that's happened, right? You've been rejected. You feel like you're alone on the playground. You have lost a loved one. You have gone through a divorce. Loneliness comes from something that has rejection often attached to it. And so we tend to think of loneliness, and then we associate it with loner. Right? What's wrong with you socially? Can't you manage in this society? And we have come to celebrate individuals, right? Power of one, just do it. You know, that Nike ad, one lone person running on a road because she can. And that's all great, but we didn't realize it through science, actually, how important it is to have real life connections. Yeah. There's a difference between a hug and 10,000 likes.
Yeah. Yes.
Right? We'll get into that. We'll absolutely get into that. But our pendulum has swung so far over into how many likes I got in a day instead of how many hugs and kisses I got in a day.
Yeah.
Right.
So
how
true.
many real conversations did I have? And our brains have not caught up.
Yeah.
They haven't. So I think we'll get into that. Hopefully by the time we're done, you'll have, because I'm a biologist. So I'll give you the sort of science definition of loneliness as well, and then we'll break it down from there. How's that?
Yeah, I love that. And it reminds me of a colleague I have who lives in New York, and he is committed to one belly to belly meeting a week, every week, where he meets with someone, they have an actual coffee, and often he does it to build relationship. And I like that idea of belly to belly, that you're facing someone, you're actually in their presence. It's not a phone call or a text or a message on Facebook. You're actually connecting with somebody. So I love that we're going to talk about that.
Belly to belly. Belly to belly. So I talk also with children, nose to nose.
Yes.
Right? Nose to nose, size to size. Those connections are what bond us.
Yeah.
And they make us feel safe, and they make us feel like we're going to survive. And that's where this whole conversation is coming from. Yeah. Survival. It's all about survival.
That's absolutely true. I want to say hi to Sarah Rosalind, who's watching right now, and anybody else who's tuned in. Please leave a comment below. If you have someone in your life who you feel is isolated or lonely, just put a thumbs up. We just want to know, because most of us do have, if it's not us, we do have somebody in our life who, if you really think about it, they don't have a community, they don't talk to people, they go days or weeks without a hug or a touch or a proper conversation. So just comment there below and just let us know your thoughts on that. So I don't know if I coined the term, but I called this show Isolationitis, because itis for people helps them understand that loneliness just isn't this casual thing. It's an actual health affliction. And tell me more about, because you were talking about, we understand that we need water for thirst, that we need sunlight for us to thrive and grow, that we need food. You actually liken that community is one of those basic needs. So can you share more about that?
Well, if we start just from understanding what loneliness is, then we can understand why it's so important. So, I'm gonna sort of blurt out some biology at you right now. So yeah, bear with me. It's an aversive signal. Loneliness is. It's an aversive signal that our brain sends to us so that we can pay attention to our social well-being, right? So that being said, so it's a signal like hunger, right? It's an aversive signal. Hunger is an aversive signal. Please go eat before your blood sugars go too low and you will not be able to function. Thirst, right? Please go drink something before you get dehydrated and die. Pain. Please get your hand out of the fire because you're going to hurt yourself, right? So those are the main aversive signals that we have in our life, or some of the main ones. And what they realized, science did, Dr. John Cacioppo and Stephanie Cacioppo at the University of Chicago really led the research in this. They realized that loneliness, holy cow, it is just as important as hunger, thirst, and pain. So I knew that it was important intuitively, but I love having the science behind it now. I absolutely.
No, and let's just mention. Let me just mention that really quick. You said John Cacioppo, is that? And there's a TED Talk. We'll put a link to that down below that they did. I didn't get a chance to listen to it before we went live, but it looks really amazing about this very subject.
It's a great TED Talk because it really, he puts years and years of research into 20 minutes beautifully.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
So that's, ultimately we look at loneliness as sadness, right? We feel bad. We feel bad because we are not profoundly or connected in a real way. Yeah. That's why you can have 10,000 followers and still feel lonely, right? There's an absolute difference. They realize now that social isolation, you can feel that, right? Yeah. That's an objective thing. You just are. You're a classic example. A married couple loses one of the spouses, and now you're living alone, and you have a profound sense of loss and loneliness. Yes. So that's happened because of fact. Yeah. But there's also perceived loneliness, and that's where this research was revolutionary. That it's all about your feeling. They realized that if your brain is feeling lonely, even if you are in a marriage, even if you are amongst your friends, even if you are a billionaire with everything, you have all these people wanting stuff from you, wanting to be your friend, and you still perceive yourself to be alone. Yeah, that interesting. Is loneliness. That's where this research became fascinating. And yeah, it's as important as hunger, thirst, or pain. Your body is designed to fix it for you.
Yeah, I love that you talk about kind of these base needs, and that having close relationships. I don't think there's not too many people you could say, is that a basic need like hunger or thirst? And they go, oh yeah, of course. I think this is something we're learning and understanding. And like you say, the science is starting to bring it to the public forefront, and help us recognize that this is an actual, legit, serious issue. And
so it's actually so serious that I think you and I were talking a bit earlier, and I said, well, this alarm bell's been ringing, right? Like, this alarm bell has been ringing. Why is it that in practice, I'm sure you see in your practice, I see in mine, why am I seeing so many anxious teens? Yes. Why am I seeing so much and such an increase in number of depression? Why am I seeing such an increase in cardiac cases, right? Because loneliness affects all of that. Heather, the stats are crazy. They're crazy. So 25% of US now, 1 in 4 people in the United States, 1 in 4, feels chronic loneliness. Jeez. 1 in 4. The number of single person living in a home, in 1970 it was about 15% across the board in the United States, across all states. That's increased to 25%.
Oh my word, yeah.
So 1 in 4 people feel lonely. 25%, there's one single family, single person dwellings all across the United States. And think about what you can do if you're living in an apartment building. You go home, you go to the elevator, you go downstairs to the garage, you get in your car, you go to your cubicle, you repeat that, and then all day you have hundreds of lights and this and that. You actually haven't necessarily connected.
Yeah.
And it's affecting our brains.
I think so too. Yeah, I mean, cognition-wise, it's huge. You see the cognitive decline in elderly at home who are isolated. And there was, this is a funny thing to bring up, but did you ever see that awesome commercial about the guy who, you're not really sure what it's about, but he says, I took a week and refused to leave my house. He's like a 25-year-old guy. So he shows what he's doing, he's eating, he's playing games, playing with his cat. And the first couple of days is fine, but then he keeps going. He's not allowed to talk to anybody. He's not allowed to, he just did this to himself. Well, at the end, he shows that his next door neighbor is 86-year-old man, widowed, that he goes weeks like this. And this guy showed the health effects on himself after only a week. And that isolation, that lack of contact with other people. And, his whole message was, get out and start visiting these people who are either locked in or who just don't have the capability to connect with other people. So that was a very cool one. But I think you have been, you told me so many different things about the different educational things you're learning about and the community groups that you're talking about. So can you just kind of start working us into either kind of a little bit more of the science or some of the practical things that we need to know about?
A couple of things so let's just go back though. If we, why is loneliness like hunger, thirst, and pain? And why haven't we been thinking about it? Right? Why have we been hitting the snooze button for so long? And why do people get the face when you mention it? So if you think about it, when we're born, we're these tiny little creatures, and we have a huge dependency in order to survive. We're actually, out of animals, the longest dependency out of any animal. Yeah, right? Interesting. A baby needs to be cared for. It will not survive, right? Yeah. So we are evolved to be taken care of, and we work in a unit so that we can actually survive into adulthood. At some point, individualism became very, very key. I can do this on my own, right? Yeah. I'm absolutely fine. But we are social creatures, and that we forgot that along the way somewhere. Mm-hmm. And we're actually not that awesome. We're not that biologically. We're not. Yeah. We don't have awesome eagle eyes. Yeah. We can't run like a cheetah. We don't have magnificent teeth to rip things. Right? I mean, a wildebeest is in some ways more splendid than us in individuality. Oh my gosh, I love that. Think about it, right? They're born. Within minutes, they're joining the migration, running around so that they don't get eaten. Yeah. Right? If we were born and our parents left us on the Serengeti, that's it for us. Yeah. So we're not that splendid on our own. We are absolutely magnificent together. Yeah. We're magnificent together. We're splendid together because of reason, because of communication, because of planning, but we evolved to survive together.
Yeah.
And we've forgotten that. We somehow think that our individuality will take us. And what Dr. Cacioppo's, I hope I'm not butchering his name, by the way. Cacioppo, I'm going to say Cacioppo. What his research showed us is that, our brains, when we are alone for so long, it goes into self-preservation mode. And we start doing things that actually hinder our connectedness. Because if you're alone in the wild, right, and you're alone now, you go into, I don't care what anyone else is doing. I need to survive because things want to eat me.
Yeah. Interesting.
And so once you've been chronically alone, and you've probably met someone like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're chronically alone and they don't actually want a connection. They're a bit more harsh with you.
Yeah.
They kind of bite a little bit more.
Yeah.
They're a bit more narcissistic. They don't show empathy. And this is all brain science. Your body starts to protect yourself. And while it's protecting you, you basically isolate yourself. And it's called, in biology, we call it a positive feedback loop. It's making it worse.
Yeah.
The actual
on itself.
It's making it worse. And you've got a tsunami now of loneliness coming your way. And then you don't want to isolate, you want to isolate even more.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we are seeing. That's what I see with the elderly. But Heather, this loneliness affects every culture, every age, from little kids to until we pass.
Yeah.
So it's something that I'm fascinated in and will continue studying over the next couple of years. Absolutely.
Yeah, there's so many things to comment on. I love the way that you've described that because it made people pop into my mind when you talked about a little bit of hardness, kind of like self-sabotaging, and that, well, see, she doesn't like me, I'm not calling her back.
Exactly.
That pushing away of people, and because there's such deep-seated issues there that have now this wall, and they know how to survive on their own. They're afraid of being in community. So that is really, but yet it's affecting their health in a negative way. So
it's affecting their health on such a profound negative way. I can't even tell you. So loneliness now. So if you remember those numbers from before, 25% of the US, 1 in 4. So an early risk. So it is, if you have air pollution, you have a 5%. If you live in constant air pollution, 5% increased risk of early death, right? Of premature death, 5% increase, right? Obesity, 20% increase of early death if you're not taking care of your health. Excess alcohol, 30% increase of morbidity, right? So increased death if you don't, early death if you don't take care of yourself. Again, loneliness, 45%. 45%, because it affects so many. Because of that, because we are not wildebeest, because we are meant to be these amazing community and communal and social beings, when our brain goes into that self-preservation mode, it affects us biologically, genetically, neurologically, across the board. It's crazy. I can't wait to tell you about it. It's crazy.
That's so incredible. So let's move into some of the maybe the specific things that people either need to be watching out for or watching out for with their loved ones. Are there specific things that come up after a prolonged period of this loneliness?
So what I've decided to talk about, what I decided to do, if I have someone that I know has not had a connection for a while.
Yes.
As Canadians, we tend to be very polite, right? It's this classic stereotype. I'm not going to push it all because, well, they know better.
Yeah.
I'm going to allow I grew up all over the place. So I'm going to push a bit more. I'm going to go over and bring something over. I'm going to invite them for a walk because I need it.
Yeah.
Right?
That's great.
I'm going to go walk. I'm going to I'll drive someone to the doctor's office. Right? But actually, if you think about it, you get more, in some ways, you get just as much from driving someone to a doctor's office. But if it's 45% increased chance of early death from being alone, well, for crying out loud, have a cup of coffee.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, and it doesn't take much, especially like if each of us, reach out just a little more than we have been, that can make a really huge difference.
Huge. So if you want a list of some of the things that loneliness affects,
Yeah.
it's crazy. So sleep goes first. If you can't, if you're afraid during the day that you have to be hyper vigilant because things are going to get you, you can imagine when you put your stick down at night and try to sleep.
Yeah.
Right. You put your emotional stick down. Really.
Yes.
You can't get into deep sleep. You can't detox your brain. Your blood-brain barrier doesn't open. You don't detox not only emotionally and mentally, but also physiologically.
Yeah.
You don't get that done. And then you get increase of neural inflammation and increased anxiety, increased depression. But loneliness has now been linked to not only things like increased blood pressure, increased cardiac illnesses, increased neurological illnesses, poor sleep, diabetes type 2.
Yeah.
It affects us across the board because it increases inflammation. And I think you and I both know that's probably another talk. Inflammation.
Yes. That would be actually a great talk, because it was funny the other day I was talking about an anti-inflammatory diet and someone's like, well, I don't have any inflammation. They were thinking like, I don't have a sprained ankle, or I don't have, anything. And so not understanding that concept that inflammation is the basis of so many health issues, if not all of them. And so that's great that you mentioned that, especially the neurologic inflammation and how that affects the brain and cognition and all of that. So that's great.
And when you add something, like imagine if you were constantly hungry.
Yeah.
Right. If you're constantly, we call it malnourishment. Right.
Yeah.
If you're constantly thirsty, you get dehydrated. Pain is basically showing that you're getting tissue damage. Yeah. And so I think we just need to start thinking of loneliness. If someone is lonely, let's not pull the face and back off. Yeah. Right. If someone is hungry and you know them, you want to
feed them.
Right. The thing is that we don't have a cooler full of friends. Right? We can't go to a cooler and go, yes, all right, I'm going to take Heather out today. Yeah. And we're going to hang out and it'll be all good and we'll get our belly time or our nose to nose time. Awesome. I'll get to some solutions that we can think about, but we actually profoundly need to start doing something about this, not only for seniors, but also for our young people.
Yeah, absolutely. And teaching, because we have one or two generations of kids that don't understand the value of a real friendship and even how to have one of those very, very, I have sat in a room of two 16-year-old girls who were on their phones for 3 hours straight. And I was like, did you guys have a terrible time? No, that was the best time ever. But they literally did not say a word to each other. And so understanding and learning how to have that connection. And so actually, Heli, this may be jumping ahead a little bit, but I'm very clear there are people there that are like, yeah, this is all well and good. I don't have a clue how to make a connection. How do I find a friend? Because the stats are that we all have less than one good friend. We can call it 3 a.m. is the national stat. Where we used to have 2 or 3, and now we have less than 1, which means that lots of people have none. So
I think 45% of people in that were recently surveyed. This was a state that was done in the States. They don't have their one peep. 45%. So that to me seemed like a really high number. I'd read 26%. But I think what we've got now is you sort of get to a tipping point. And then it starts multiplying really quickly as people become more lonely. They do that. Okay, back off, and that's going to start multiplying really quickly. That's why I'm raising this alarm bell now. Yeah. But so many things that we can do, like so many. I want people to start recognizing that it is like hunger, thirst, or pain. Yeah. Right? And it's no different from that. It does not need to be a bad thing. It doesn't make you weird or socially awful or a loser. It's just a very common problem that people are not talking about because they didn't realize how important it was.
Yeah. Right? Amen. Yeah.
I knew that it was important. I didn't realize it was this important. University of Pennsylvania recently looked at social media, Heather. Yeah. Is it the same as a connection? Right? Because we live in social media lives.
Yes.
You read iMinds?
You said it isn't. You cut out there just for a sec. You said it isn't the same as a real connection. Is that what you said?
Yeah, it is
Right.
not.
Okay. No, what's
This
iMinds?
debate, right?
Yeah.
That's that debate that's been going on. I have this debate with my 14-year-old all the time. All the time. I need you to go outside and actually hang out and play basketball with your brother or your friend.
Yeah.
I've been with them all day.
Nope.
Awesome. Go do that in real time, not in virtual. So there's a game right now with kids called I'm sure you've heard of it. It's a game where they are Fortnite.
No.
And it's popular worldwide.
Okay.
Millions of players. And I was thinking about this last night as my son was playing it. And it's a community game. You play with people, you talk to people, and people love this game. And I'm like, why do they love this game? Is this game any different, really, from some of the other crash bang, shoot 'em up games, right? I'm not even going to go into the ethics of that right now. Let's deal with that later.
Yeah.
Anyway, it is a very popular game from young kids, right? Because it isn't gory, necessarily, to adults, right?
Interesting.
Rappers to, I don't know, 10-year-olds, right?
Yeah.
Everyone in between. And I was like, why do people love this game so much? They're getting a sense of community in there, but they're not necessarily making the same connections. Because truly, a community is just a group of people that share the same likes, wants, goals, ideals, right? Be that in a community of two in a marriage or a nation, right? It's a culture. Yeah. And so the Fortnite culture is filling that need for people to be connected somehow. But we haven't gone far enough, right? Because you're not with someone. Yeah. University of Pennsylvania looked at, does social media actually make any difference to our well-being, right? Mm. Powerful question that many a parent has been wanting research for. Absolutely. And absolutely it did, right? If you stay off social media for a week, your well-being, your anxiety goes down, your well-being goes up, your mood goes up, and you feel better overall. Because most likely they thought, and this research is ongoing, that you're going out, instead of using social media, you're doing belly time, as you said. Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because I thought you said, does social media make a difference? And then you said, well, yes, it does. I thought you were going to say, being on social media makes you more well. I'm happy to hear that the study revealed that, in fact, what we all think is true, which is it does not. And Christine, Jerry, thank you for showing up today. I appreciate you visiting and watching our show. But I am going to push back a little bit. She says virtual co-working helps. And I think it helps, but it does not take the place. Many of us virtually co-work, we have virtual relationships. You and I are in a virtual situation right now. This is a lovely time together, but it cannot take the place of the energy exchange that happens in real time. No, I am not arguing that this isn't awesome. Yeah, it is awesome. Fantastic way to reach people. Yes. But it's not the only connection I'm going to have today. Yeah, exactly. They are fantastic tools. I'm not arguing for or against Fortnite. I don't need a bunch of Fortnite. Yeah. Well, I'm not arguing for or against that. I'm just saying that we need more. Yeah. We need more than this. It is a fabulous tool to have at home. Did you read the book iMinds? No, I didn't. I'll send you a link for that. Great book for parents. Great book for people when we're talking about social media and how to sort of navigate it. It's here to stay. Right? Okay. Yeah. Which is great. So let's put the link. Yeah, let's put the link for that below. I'm going to get a little interruption here, I think. Or a big one. Guys, I'm in a conference room and they are, let's see, we're at 12:35. Okay, let's keep going and see if we can get a little bit more out of this before I have to sign off. Because it's such a great conversation. And obviously, Heli, first of all, this is a TED Talk in the making. Please apply because this is such great content for the TED stage. And I love that we are absolutely going to need to reconnect on this again because there's so much to talk about. So let's talk about, just because we're at 35 minutes, let's just talk about some practical tips for people. So if you think about, if you feel lonely, you need to do 3 things immediately. So this needs to become as people need to recognize this as much as they recognize the golden arches. Crazy for a naturopathic doctor to say that. but people can understand that one. Yeah, people understand that, right? So you recognize the signal, I feel lonely, right? recognize the signal, then understand that it's harmful to you, right? It just understand that it's potentially harmful to you. It does not make you anything. It doesn't make you anything. It's just harmful to you, as though you were hungry, as though you were first thirsty, as though you were in pain.
Yeah.
Very same effects as the pain from pain. And then respond to it. And there are so many ways. I think that the solutions part is, you're right. I think the solutions part to this is potentially a TED Talk. It's what people really need to hear. Yeah. It's important to, I said, I wrote a note to myself that it's not about 1,000 likes. It's about getting one real hug in a day.
Yeah, I love that. And
we started focusing on getting one real awesome hug in a day. That's all. Those percentages would turn around very quickly, because it implies that you're working on either an intimate relationship.
Yeah.
Scary as that can be. And really hard once you're in that cycle of loneliness. You're working on a communal dinner with people. Hey, I'm going to invite the entire neighborhood, see who comes. You're working on joining a church group. You're working on third places. Have you heard about third places?
I have, only because my husband is a Starbucks 14-year vet. He's no longer there, but Howard Schultz, that's kind of how he felt he wanted to position Starbucks when they first started building, was as a third place. You have home, and tell me if I've got this right or wrong, but you have your primary, you have home and you have work, but you should have a third community space. Do I have that right?
It's exactly right. So I agree. Starbucks culture evolved for that. Sadly, everyone goes there now for Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that's right. Not to visit. So I think, we need to start thinking outside the box a little bit. Yeah. If you have Wi-Fi or gadget-free time in a school, right? Before a staff meeting, everybody comes to a staff meeting with gadgets off. Because often prior to a staff meeting, we do meditation here, but when we have a staff meeting, and they're always gadget free, always. Yeah, that's amazing.
And it's incredible what happens in a staff meeting. If you think about it, in a boardroom, hey, John, do you have any ideas about this topic that I'm working on? Hey, you know what? I worked on that last year. Let me forward that to you after the meeting. Yeah. That kind of collaboration and connection we've lost out on. Our clinic here, our mantra for this year is community and connection. That's what this came from. And so we just did a farm tour around where anyone could sign up, and we went from farm to farm, not only connecting with each other, but who's out there making us our food.
That's an amazing idea. That's brilliant. I love it.
With all the people that had not only farmed it, but that had been on the tour, people left on a connection high. Yeah. On a connection high. So I'm just gonna urge people so much from just from the big heart that I have. If you feel isolated or lonely, or you're starting to feel like you're disconnected or rejected, please respond to it. Yeah.
And I think that's so good. And we're not recognizing the fact that you said at the very beginning that loneliness often comes after a specific situation, a loss, a rejection, something. And so we know that if that a large population of lonely people do fear rejection, they do fear putting themselves out there again. And there's so much of that, but I think if we can cumulatively start to work on that, then we can all kind of put our raw selves out there and take risk and not be afraid, knowing that you have educated us about this is a basic need, and it is terrifying what happens if you don't address it and you ignore it. The wellness impact is huge.
And be a bit bold. If you see someone starving in the street, our tendency is to want to help. Yeah. Well, if someone is starving for connection, and even if they are a little bit brittle because their brain is protecting them, do it for you. Yeah. Take the onus. You know what? I really need to connect with you today. Yeah. Do you mind? Can you help me out on that? Because that, I think, if we do it from that perspective, we get past a little bit of that brittleness. Yeah. But I can tell you, I would never step over someone that's starving on a street.
Yeah, exactly. None of us would,
When
because
our friends are starving for connection, go out and hug someone.
yep. Yep. And as we've been talking, I've got people in my mind, I'm sure viewers, you do as well. Challenge you that after we wrap up today, you make a phone call. If you can't go and see them specifically because they're in a different part of the world or whatever, make a FaceTime call, a phone call. If you have the ability to go and see them in person, get that belly to belly, nose to nose time. Swap that energy, help prop them up a little bit from your wonderful, happy energy, and stay connected with them. Heli, this has been amazing. Is there anything that you just are burning to tell viewers before we start to wrap up?
Wouldn't it be great if our Fitbits started keeping track of how many people we hugged in a day?
Oh my gosh, I love that.
How awesome would that be? Now that would make a difference in our health,
It
probably
sure
as much
would.
as our Fitbits.
Yeah, that would be just amazing. Okay, well, we need to get on that, Heli, you and I. I love it. Well, thank you for being on the show today, Dr. Heli. I know we'll hear more from you, and I know I can look forward to seeing you on a TED stage one day, because the message that you've got is so powerful, so real, so important. And so thank you for sharing it with me today and with the viewers that are watching. Yeah, thanks all of you that are watching in replay as well. And please don't forget, this, out of any of the junk shows that I have done, is probably the most important one to share. So please share it with your friends, your family, and then make those connections after you're finished watching today. And we will look forward to seeing everybody next Friday at noon PST on the Junk You Should Know show. Heli, thanks again for being with me and with everybody who's watching, and we will see you again.
Thank you so much, Heather. You're one of my heroes.
Oh, and you are too. Mutual heroes. I love it. Okay. All right, everybody, go forth. Have a great weekend. Stay on for just a second, Dr. Heli.